Hello everyone, you are very welcome to EnglishLogica.com. Developing your language in the workplace is an essential part of being an employee. You can improve relationships with your colleagues, which is a proven way to achieve success and satisfaction in work. In this video, we'll look at communication issues related to management and leadership, conflict resolution, and interactions between staff and colleagues, and give you examples of each to use in the workplace. Imagine working in an environment in which you are constantly disrespected. Would you be happy if your colleagues spoke abruptly or your manager was demeaning? Wouldn't you feel better if your colleague said, "Would you mind if we tried it this way instead?" rather than rudely snapping, "Don't do it like that"? What if your manager shouted, "Get back to work," even if you had been working? Wouldn't it be more respectful to hear your manager say, "How are you getting on with that project? Do you need anything to help you along the way?" If you've ever felt like you've been disrespected in work, there are respectful ways to manage the situation. Instead of saying, "Don't you dare speak to me like that," you could try, "I don't think I deserve to be spoken to like that. That was uncalled for." This way, you are assertive without being unprofessional. So, let's dive into management and leadership relations and have a look at how leadership language can make you an effective manager and how it can get the best out of your employees. Maintaining a balance between respect and authority is difficult. Here are some ways of dealing with troublesome staff without sounding too aggressive. You are due to have a meeting with branch managers from across the company at 2 p.m. today. You are extremely busy getting everything ready for their arrival. You can hear a lot of laughing and joking outside your office. You open the door and find some of your employees fooling around. You get annoyed. Instead of saying, "Be quiet," or even, "Shut up," you could say, "Would you mind keeping it down? We have a big day ahead of us today, and I expect you all to be on your A game. Please get back to work." This reaction commands respect. The abrupt reaction loses respect, and therefore damages your position as a leader. An employee has arrived late for the third time this week. You are afraid this could become a habit, and you want to address it and rectify the situation. If you rush the employee and say something like, "Why are you always late?" this could invoke fear and unhappiness in your employee. There could also be a hidden issue of which you are not yet aware. You could address the situation in a more professional, compassionate way which would create trust or a bond between you and the employee. You could say, "When you get settled at your desk, let me know so we can have a chat. I'm worried about you, considering your timekeeping has slipped recently." This sentence shows compassion for your employee and stamps authority. The employee is likely to open up with details of why their punctuality has dropped. When your staff feel demotivated or just seem lazy, it is important to maintain a polite manner when addressing the issue. It's possible the employee has personal issues, and it is wise to be conscious of this. Dealing with the issue tactfully and professionally will always command a better response from your employee. Assert authority without going on the offensive. Your team is behind schedule. You do a quick checkup on some employees' work. You find one of your team is way behind on their task. Instead of losing your patience and saying something like, "You're too slow," or "You're getting worse at this job," you could say, "You seem to be running a bit behind schedule. Is there anything I can do to help you along?" Or, "Why don't we sit down later and have a chat about your progress? It's important we address any issues keeping you from doing your best." Both responses are professional and show the employee you care about the deadline, but you also care about seeing them become a success at their role. A manager's role is to maintain a good standard of productivity from their team. Poor performance and a drop in productivity must be addressed. Productivity can drop for many reasons, so it's important not to come down hard on someone without knowing the full story. Instead, you need to use diplomatic language to soften the blow when addressing someone who works for you. One of your employees has been slacking off lately. They have repeatedly turned in unfinished work past the deadline. You need to speak with them as you're getting frustrated. Instead of saying, "This is so easy to do, why can't you do it?" or "You're no good at your job," you could say, "I think you could improve your performance. I've noticed that your output is significantly down on last month." Now, let's dive into conflict resolution to see how diplomatic language can make you an effective communicator and help you deal with difficult situations. It is always more constructive to deflate conflict situations and try to understand what's really going on. Learning how to control your reactions and deliver a more respectful response is the key to conflict resolution. You've been assigned a task by your manager, but you're struggling. It's been a couple of days and you've still not completed it. You ask your colleague to help you. "Hi, when you get a chance, would you be able to lend me a hand? I'm starting to get a little stressed out because the deadline is very soon." Your colleague is usually very approachable, but today he has had a bad day. He snaps back at you with, "Can you ever just leave me alone? I'm sick and tired of helping you all the time." It's important to be aware that people have their own lives and their own problems. With this in mind, try to always be respectful, and instead of saying, "How dare you speak to me like that?" you could say, I'm really surprised by what you just said. Please don't speak to me like that. Is there something else on your mind? If you're in a situation where someone has snapped at you and tensions are very high, you don't want to make the situation increasingly stressful, so you could say, "How about we take a few minutes and come back to this in a little while?" Or, "After we've all calmed down, we can discuss this." Approaching the situation in this way can give everyone some much needed breathing space. Then you can revisit the situation another time and try to resolve it amicably. It's getting close to the holidays and your manager decides to play some games in the office. Everybody is enjoying themselves. Your colleague announces that you want to sing karaoke to everybody in the office. You don't like it and it embarrasses you. You get a chance to speak to your colleague privately. You're upset about what happened, but letting your emotions decide your reaction would not achieve what you want from the conflict. So, instead of storming up to your colleague, barking at them with, "Don't you ever do that to me ever again," it would be better to say, "I'd prefer if you didn't do that again, please. I understand you were trying to have a joke, but it was at my expense and it embarrassed me." If one of your staff members has treated a client badly and spoken to them abruptly, you need to deal with the situation in a respectful way, keeping in mind that you're in a position of authority and that you should act accordingly. If you approach your staff member with, "I can't believe you did that. How stupid can you be?" you are bound to lose respect from your team for speaking to someone like that. You need to keep a cool head. Approach the situation with assertiveness, but also with an open mind, especially if the staff member has acted out of character. You could say, "I've called you into my office to discuss what happened earlier today. I trust we won't have a repeat of it. I was quite taken aback when I heard about this. It's not what I've come to expect from you." Like before, when you approach a situation like this, it helps the staff member to open up about anything else that could be bugging them. You'll get to the root of the problem easier this way. Now, let's dive into daily interactions in the workplace and see which terms are best for developing good working relationships with those around you, and which ones are best suited to moving you into a leadership position. Politeness is important in workplace conversation. Avoid insulting people with short, sharp questions. Native English speakers form longer sentences to say something that could otherwise be much shorter. You've lost track of time and can't remember when the team meeting is being held. You turn to your colleague and ask, "When is the team meeting?" This is sharp and can come across as cold. In every aspect of conversation with a colleague, it is nice to build rapport, which helps create good working relationships. Short questions or answers are blunt, so instead you could ask, "Excuse me, Would you mind telling me what time our team meeting is scheduled for? I've been so busy that I've forgotten. When you ask in this manner, it's polite, respectful, and steers clear of abruptness. Friendliness can be contagious. You might have just made a friend. You're stuck on a problem with your system. Your team lead is caught up in a meeting. You turn to your colleague and say, "Help me with this." This is very sharp and blunt. Instead, you could say, "Do you think you could spare a minute to help me? I seem to have locked myself out of my system." This is a very friendly approach and is sure to build rapport. It doesn't matter where on the workplace ladder you rank. Everybody deserves to be treated with respect. A new employee has started working with your company. They are still getting to know the ropes. You walk past them and notice they are in the process of deleting some important files. Keeping in mind that this employee is new before reacting is important. You were new once, and everybody makes mistakes at some point. Stop! Don't do it that way. We need those files. This response to the situation is sure to give the new employee a bit of a fright and damage their chances of settling in. "Sorry, I just noticed you might be making a mistake there. Can I help?" Showing help to new employees is always a good idea, especially if you're thinking of moving up the ladder in the future. There are appropriate and polite ways to ask questions in the workplace. Instead of using "I need to," "I want to," or "I have to," it is better to use the following in these circumstances. "Would it be possible if I," or "Would you mind if I," or even "Would it be okay if I?" These examples are respectful if you need to ask someone a question in the workplace. Well, how did you find this insight into diplomatic language? Which parts do you find most useful? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to EnglishLogica or visit EnglishLogica.com for more important information to assist you towards career progression.